Hello and welcome back to the Peg Bar and Grill. My name's Sam Taylor and this is Tim McCaw.
Hello.
And we're back with another couple of special episodes, which we're recording on video this time. You'll be able to catch on our YouTube channel at youtube.com/TheLionAnimation. And it's also available on our podcast feed, where we have 30 odd other episodes that we've recorded over the last few years.
So these episodes are actually sponsored by the BFI network, who are a national lottery funded network. They wanted us to talk about short films and filmmaking because the network actually has a short film fund which is open twice a year, and you can find out more information about that via network.bfi.org.uk, which I recommend doing. If anyone out there making short films, they fund both live action and animation. And we'd just like to thank them for kind of getting us out of retirement to kind of interview some amazing people. In this podcast, we're going to be interviewing like one of our kind of animation heroes, which is Alberto Mielgo. Absolutely phenomenal artist. As we learned on the podcast, he was an incredible animator as well. He's been super influential, I think, over the last 10 to 15 years in both in the UK, where he used to freelance a lot, and now kind of like globally with his like involvement in projects like Into the Spider-Verse, and now he's going into like kind of making his own features and shorts, which are just amazing.
Yeah, I think if you guys are watching this, you're probably already familiar with Alberto's work, but I think he's been incredibly influential and put a huge stamp on animated feature films over the last few years. We talked to him about all kinds of things, getting started in the UK, working on Spider-Verse, leaving Spider-Verse, and everything that he's up to now, including his most recent film, The Windshield Wiper, which is absolutely incredible, and it's touring festivals at the moment. So if you guys get a chance to watch that at all, I couldn't recommend it highly enough.
Yeah, I really hope you enjoy the interview.
Whereabouts are you right now?
I am in Madrid right now, in Spain.
Oh, sweet. Is that where you're based, like permanently?
I don't know. I'm not too sure, to be honest. Like I've been living in LA for 11 years, but I kind of like go back and forth for the last 3-4 years. I opened a studio here in Spain, so kind of like I spend a lot of time now in Spain, but I also go to LA and I spend a lot of time there as well. Like some years I spend more time in USA, some years I spend more time in Europe. Depends of projects, depends of how things go.
Okay. Is that difficult? Is that like you have constantly having to like find apartments and stuff like that? Or?
Well, it's just expensive because I have to have 2 places permanent, So I have I have my studio in LA where I have all my paintings, and that's it. I only have paintings. The other stuff is just rubbish, just like furniture and things that they are like cool, but nothing really important. But the paintings are important. It's almost like for the last years I was painting small just because it's nicer to carry on, to carry the paintings. Like when you have a lot of paintings, it's almost worse than having a piano or something like that, which is basically a pain in the ass. I don't know if you guys have seen, but there is a lot of free piano adverts everywhere because nobody wants to carry that shit around. And it's like, if you come and pick it up, it's funny. So that's the same thing with paintings. You cannot actually move them unless you're doing like properly, and having paintings is almost a pain. Big paintings is almost a pain in the ass.
Oh well, if you want to give away any paintings because they're getting in the way, just let me know. I'll come and pick some up.
Free, but well, you have to actually carry them from LA. It's not that easy, It's almost like it's not that easy. It's not that easy.
Yeah. So I mean, that must be a pretty big influence on your work as well, like all the moving around.
I guess that the work that you do kind of seems to reflect the place that you're living quite a lot.
Yeah, of course, 100%. I mean, I've been a foreigner per se since I am basically 18 years old, and I am 42 now. So I've been living abroad more than in my own country already. And I like the feeling of being a foreigner. I like to come back to Spain and experience my country, but I don't feel like I have a nationality per se. Like I don't feel myself too much of an Spanish person, even though I love Spain. But just because I've been living so much abroad, I'm a little bit. I'm not confused. It's just that I'm not particularly bother about my nationality per se.
Yeah. How does that work with going back and forth? Is part of going back and forth from LA to Europe to do with like visas or anything like that, or like do you get work visas in LA for America? Or that must
I have a green card in America.
Okay.
Yeah, that wasn't. I mean, it's just a process, like same. I suppose like same as getting like a visa in Europe. But I never had to get the visa in Europe, so I don't know what's the process. But yeah, it was like I arrived first in LA maybe like, yes, I say like 11 years ago, and I got the typical work visa, and then I upgrade personally into a green card as soon as I saw the possibility. You know, Americans are very cool in terms of, you know, like if you have some merits and some sort of like good work to offer, they are very keen to offer you visas, of course, and they want you there, which makes total sense.
Mm. What was it that brought you back to Spain after 11 years in LA?
Family mostly was like my parents are super old, like past 90.
Both of them.
Yeah, my mother is 87, my father is 90 or 86, 90. Like, you know, it's it was just a matter of like checking more often. You know, before it was like I disappear for like months, and then I come back in the summer, I come back a few days in Christmas, and now it's just a matter of like staying closer as much as possible. It's a little bit tricky because of work, obviously, and things, but I don't know. And also I wanted to change. Like, to be honest, LA is okay, but I sort of like hate it. I like it, but I don't. There's a lot of things that I love. I have really cool friends there, but it is a little bit of a strange city, and it's fucking ugly. I think it's like one of the ugliest cities I've ever experienced in my life. It's almost like a low level ugly building, super ugly architecture with palm trees. There is very, very nice architecture kind of like up in the hills, and very kind of like famous buildings, like private homes, but LA is dirty. Like they don't clean it. It's not like in Europe, you know, like there's like a daily cleanup in the streets, you know, like and there is a lot of beautiful ornaments, a lot of story, beautiful buildings. You walk in the middle of London, and you see beautiful, cozy corners that they are like extremely inspiring. LA has none of that. In my opinion, I think that the movies made a huge favor to LA. Like when you watch, you know, films based in LA, you fall in love with it somehow, obviously, because the light is actually very cool there.
Yeah.
The light in LA is actually very nice. And also because the cinematographers, they're amazing. But when you go there, most of the time people get really disappointed when they go to the specific locations of specific movies. They are like, oh my God, really? This looks like shit. And when you go to the to the main Hollywood street with the star.
Yeah.
You know, when they start, you guys being there is the most disappointing experience ever.
I just went there. I spent most of my time around sort of like Venice Beach, which I thought was quite cool.
Yeah. Well, of course, the ocean.
When I was walking around the street, I know what you mean. There's sort of like around that area that, like, other than the kind of strip, there's not too much to look at. But I was with someone who was from LA, and I was like obsessing about all the kind of the liquor store signs, and I thought, because you don't really get anything like that in Europe or in London.
Right.
He was like, "Why are you excited about that? Like, why are you excited about all these boring neon signs?" It was like someone getting excited about a corner shop in the UK or something.
Oh fuck! The police ruining this.
That's all right.
No, it's fine.
Adds a bit of texture, but like I mean, surely like there's something in that. I feel like you like that stuff in your work, like that griminess and grittiness. I feel like you've spent a lot of time painting that stuff in your work.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, to be fair, there is something about ugly that I also love. You know, there is like beautiful, even, you know, in London, the council houses that they're like these blocks of concrete with bunch of windows. In terms of composition, they look amazing, and I actually really love them. Or if you go to the Russian sort of like Eastern Europe or even Russia, there is like incredible, very communist sort of like looking buildings that at first they are definitely not. They are basically functional. It's just like a window with a wall. There's no need of ornaments or anything like that, like we have in the old buildings in Europe. There is also a lot of beauty on that because of the lines, I suppose, and you know, it's something that I also like about places that they're ugly, but they're like, wow, that looks pretty amazing.
So you mentioned London, like what age did you come to London, and when did you start working?
Well, London was my first experience in out of Spain. Like I went to London when I was 19, I think it was, and I spent 8 years in London. So I love London. It's a city that has a lot. It has a lot of flavor, and it has a lot of things to do, and it's crazy because, I mean, when you live there, you are used to. But when you leave and you come back, you realize that everything is very nicely art directed. Like even the urban furniture that you guys have, you know, like the fences, the lamp posts, like you know, everything is nicely designed. The underground sign, there is like a nice colors, like everything is very solid black with hints of gold and yellow, and you see like, wow, there is like a designer or like graphic designer behind almost everything, and it's very nicely well done, put together. Like it's a city that it has like really cool taste in terms of design. You know, like you go to Paris and it's beautiful, but the urban furniture kind of elements, they are not as well cool design as London, I think. The new stuff, you know, like if obviously you go to the metro stations in Paris and you see these beautiful kind of like things from the beginning of the century, that's different. I mean, like the new stuff that London is still producing, just like the no parking signs or things like that, they're like super, super cool.
Yeah, London has a huge, like, I think it's one of those cities where, like, even if you look at the skyline, there's such a crazy blend of modern and super old buildings, and like, I think that is something that makes.
I think it's also a thing when you move to a new place, like you start looking, you're like, you shut down when you're in your hometown, and then when you travel somewhere new, suddenly you're looking around, and it changes your way of perceiving stuff completely. Which I imagine must have been something for you when you came over here when you were 19, like just looking at a different kind of scenery for the first time.
Yeah, 100%. The smells, you know, like
Yeah.
the smell is absolutely different. There's a lot of smell of butter here and there, which is kind of like
In London.
it is in London. Yeah, yeah. You don't notice, but when you arrive there, it's like, oh wow, it smells like butter. It's cool. I guess it's because of the cooking or whatever. And it's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. I miss it. Like every time that I go to London, I arrive there and I'm like, wow, it's the same as LA. LA, funny enough, it's full of cars and bunch of like fucking pollution, but it smells like flowers, crazy almost everywhere. Like you just go out of the plane and then you get into the Uber drive or whatever. You open the window and oh fuck, that smells like some cool flowers in LA.
Is it air freshener or is that real flowers?
No. It's like LA has this kind of like essence that when you are there, you don't notice, but when you are, you know, like maybe you spend 2-3 months out of LA, you arrive and it's like, cool. Because it has like a lot of very weird plants here and there, you know, like, it's interesting. It's interesting.
Sorry, man.
I was going to ask about just moving to London, starting at the beginning.
Yeah.
Like when you first came over here when you were 19, like what was the thing that motivated you to come over, and where did you land and how did you end up?
Yeah. Oh, it was a girl of, I was in a relationship, beginning of the relationship, and she wanted, Spanish government had like an agreement with British government at the time, because you guys were in the need of having nurses, and there were a lot of I think even nurses and doctors back in the time. For some reason you guys were not choosing to do that, and it was a lack of it, and it was an agreement, and bunch of nurses, they migrate to UK, and one of them was my girlfriend at the time, and right after she left, I was like, fuck, this is miserable. I'm gonna go with her. So I followed her, and it was probably the best thing that I did in my life, because I was working in animation here, in a studio. But you know, like when I arrived to UK, all of a sudden I saw the cool jobs, like the cool things that I could get there, cool commercials, and it was like the golden age. I think it was the golden age of the 2D. You guys are basically one of the few that actually keep doing really cool high quality. But back in the time, you have like AKA Studios, Passion Pictures doing Gorillas at the time, with Pete Gandelan. I don't know. It was like a lot of the cool 2D, trendy, cool commercials for Orange, like amazing stuff that it was happening right there, right before fucking 3D.
Yeah.
Fuck everything around. Which I mean, now I love 3D, but back in the time, it came a little bit unexpected, right? It was like almost slapping everywhere. I think that you guys are younger than me, but I think so, right? I don't know if you did you guys experience that hell of a change from 2D to 3D?
I think we're like probably 5 or 6 years younger than you, so we were a little bit behind.
I think
guess.
we came up through the generation where 2D was, the drawn stuff was not competing well with the 3D stuff. So the few jobs that were done on paper, like Gorillas or like any kind of big advert, they wanted to celebrate the fact that it was pencil and paper, and they all went to like a handful of like kind of senior guys, and we came up through the back door where we were like, we can do this like digital animation stuff with Racom tablets, and it's like cheaper, and so we got those sort of like jobs where you would animate in Flash and things like that, and then
they expected them to be actually make them quite good.
And so then as kind of 3D kind of got a bit common, and people like what else is everyone else doing, there was like our generation who was experimenting in different 2D styles and more illustrational stuff, and could produce it cheaper than the old 2D method of paper and pencils, and I think we sort of like we're very fortunate that we were part of that generation to ride that wave, you know.
For sure. Yeah.
But was you a 2D animator when you first started?
Yeah, 100%. That's what I was doing. Like when I arrived in London, the first job that I got, it was really cool because it was 2D animation for film that DreamWorks. I mean, we were doing for DreamWorks, which was called Sinbad, and I was some sort of like I was very young, but I was like sort of like a early young talent. Like I loved 2D animation, and I was very realistic, and somehow I have the skills. Don't ask me. I mean, I guess I figure why is because I was doing a lot of flip books when I was a kid, and I have this sense of motion and animation. I suppose that is the same case as you. But I was very young to do what I was doing. You know, I was like basically animating in very highly realistic and high quality films. So I was kind of like cocky somehow, like, hey, fuck, I'm so early in my career working for this my fucking film, and it's like so cool. And then
animated on Sinbad. I didn't know that.
Yeah, wow. I was animated on Sinbad, and I mean,
that film. What did you animate on that film? Can you remember?
Shots. Like I was not definitely like a lead. Like, you know, like I animate several Sinbads running and bunch of guards running. I love action when I was animating. Wow. And that was kind of like my cool thing. But you know, like I was just working with a lot of senior, amazing guys. Everybody was much older than me, incredible talents from London. And I was really happy to be there. But that was the peak of my beginning, and it went to hell immediately. And I kind of like faced what it was. Not failure, of course, but you know, right after being in a very good position, I was young. I was like, wow, this is the beginning of my career. What the fuck? I'm already where I want to be. All of a sudden, 3D came. And I remember when we were actually working in Sinbad, that there was a real rumor, right? That they were saying like, Disney is not going to do any more 2D films. And we were in DreamWorks. I'm like, DreamWorks is not going to do that. And then, you know, we were like, not 2D films. That's impossible. Everything is going to be this lame ass dinosaur kind of looking shit that they were doing at the time. You know, it was not even great. And we were like, no, that's impossible. You know, like we are graphic, we are cool. You know, it's impossible. It's impossible. But literally like 2-3 months later, the DreamWorks also announced that they are not going to do any more 2D film. So it was a drama. You know, a lot of people, they couldn't recycle at the time. People that they were maybe on their 50s or late 40s, that they basically, I'm talking about the time where Google was actually more or less starting. Like, people didn't maybe use computers as we do now, right? So to recycle yourself from 2D to 3D when you are certain age is very difficult. I was very young at the time. I mean, I was young. I was like 20 or 19 or 20. So it was a good moment for me, but I didn't know how to animate in 3D. I didn't receive any training or whatever. And all of a sudden I was in London, all cocky myself, trying to find fucking jobs, and nobody knew me, and I didn't know anybody. So I had to start working, you know, back in restaurants and the same thing that is normal to do anyways. And that was for maybe like 9 months or something like that, in which I came back to reality, and I said like, oh fuck, so no more drawing, I guess. And then I bought a computer and I started painting. So really? That was the thing.
That was what it was, the kind of like work drying up which led you to move into kind of more painting and art direction.
Wow. Yeah, because
I think that would be a surprise to most people to know that you come from a animation kind of place to start with, looking at what you do. I mean, I think that the thing, we were talking about it just before we got on the call right now, but like, I think the thing about your work, I think it's fair to say that you pretty much like transformed the look of 3D animated feature films. Like, we get so much interest from companies who are saying, can we do something that looks, you know, like 3D, but like Spider-Verse, you know, like not normal 3D. Like, can we try, we want to do something different, like Spider-Verse, you know? And I think it's really like, there was years there where it was, everything looked like vinyl dolls. And that's, you know, obviously fine. And that's like that's a style that works and everything. But it always felt like, why are people not branching out? Why are people not trying something else? And I think that it really took the work that you did on Spider-Verse to kind of push the industry somewhere else. And I think it's had this really lasting impact. You know, there's all kinds of different films that are being made now that feel completely different than anything that I've seen before. And it really feels like before Spider-Verse and after Spider-Verse kind of, you know,
It is true. I mean, to the defense of everybody else that has been doing kind of like the same kind of thing over and over, I will say that the main reason is because it's not easy to change pipelines. You know, like at the time when I arrived in Sony was doing emojis and Smurfs, and they were very successful with a very specific pipeline. And asking them to switch and to change things and to do things new is very expensive, very risky. You have a lot of people against you. You have software companies against you. You have political deals that the companies have. And you have a whole crew that is working in a certain way that if you start moving things, it might mean that you need to get rid of people, which is not cool. So most of the times people is very comfortable in their companies doing what they have to do in a corporation, because it's basically a cookie factory, right? Ingredients goes here, goes there. And if all of a sudden you arrive into a company and try to change things, it's a huge impact for a lot of things. So it's not easy. That's why the successful pipeline that Pixar and DreamWorks and Disney that they actually put together, up to a point that you cannot even differentiate who fucking makes one movie or what. Like, for the general audience, everything is Pixar, or for the general audience, everything is Disney. But it makes sense because it's successful. Making 3D is a pain in the ass. There is a lot of mistakes rendering. There is a lot of software issues. It's a hell of a technology. You need to know a lot. You need to have very, very savvy and incredible professionals that they know how to get into basically mathematics. I mean, it's like sometimes it's like extremely, extremely difficult. So it's not as easy to just be an artist and it's like, let's fucking do this. Let's put lines over the fucking thing. And then then people is like, how the fuck we gonna put lines? You know, in 2D, we draw them frame by frame, which is a pain in the ass. But in 3D, there is like, you know, you have to do it however you can. But there is like a lot of like technical issues and difficulties and a lot of thought behind everything.
Was going to Sony to make Spider-Verse your first experience of like moving into 3D, or had you always thought like, you know what, I think there's a different way of doing it, you know, and this is what was there any kind of experimentation on your side before going to Sony to do it? Because I guess like, credit to them, like to kind of get you on board to kind of come in and like revamp the way they were doing stuff. Like you said, they already were like quite comfortable with their pipeline. I guess it's quite for them, and there must have been someone who saw something in you and thought this is going to lend itself well to what we're trying to do and move forward.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I did before Spider-Man. I think it was either I think it was Tron or
Oh, of course, yeah.
maybe some commercial or whatever. I don't remember exactly what it was before exactly, but Tron it was full 3D and it was very architectural as well. Um, and the one of the executives in Tron was at the time at Sony, and he obviously knew my work and he likes my work. And then they say like, we want to do something cool. Just bring your shit here. Just go wild. And that's what I did. And they were great. I mean, they flew me to New York. I wanted to experience vertigo. I wanted to go on top of the buildings and actually see like what the fuck. It's like I can be in my desk checking like Google Maps or photographs, but it's not the same if you're gonna paint, you know, vertigo. And I remember being with this location scout guy that he was telling me, we're gonna go to this building tomorrow. I'm gonna go to the door, but I'm gonna go with you. And some of the places they were really gnarly, like just basically you could. I mean, it was surprising. Like in New York, some of the buildings on the top they are just covered by a chain.
Really?
And then yeah, and it was raining, and I was just there with my fucking camera, and I was like, oh my god, I want to die. This
Oh,
is
really? That is
yeah. It was crazy. It was crazy, but I wanted to see what it was like. I wanted also to get in one of those window cleaning things, the ones that they. But it was a hell of fun. It's like we were trying, but it was like a lot of like permits and
yeah.
things that I had to do. I don't think I will be able to do it. Like it's not that I have vertigo. It's just like that's insane. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just like it's just like a 40 or 50 or fucking 100 floors. That's more than vertigo, and it's very strange because it's narrow. But yeah, they were just letting me do absolutely everything, and they were like super excited. Like with just the first paintings that I was doing, they were like, wow, this is fucking nuts. So yeah, of course they were extremely brave. And I mean, the final film, I think that it was like probably the most liked animation film in a decade or something. It's like there is no people that there's no indifference about it, right? Definitely.
Yeah, when I saw when I first saw the first trailer for it, I was like, oh my god, I'm so excited. Like, and I was like, this is Mielko, 100%. And like when I tried to look in the credits and that, I couldn't see anywhere your involvement in it, and I was like, this Cyril Mielko or someone has like ripped him off, but it didn't feel like it. When some people try and do your painting style, it doesn't quite have your same taste level, but I wanted to talk a bit, if you feel comfortable about it, like what was your, like, how did you leave the project, or like
Yeah.
what was that experience
Yeah,
like?
it's totally fine. I mean, it's like the conversation that we just had. It totally leads into the next question, like what happened there. Well, same thing. Like I wanted to do the film the same way that I did The Witness, or the same way that I'm doing my films now, and that involves a lot of painting. That involves other sort of software. At the moment, Sony was using Katana, which I found it was absurd for what I wanted to do, and I wanted to use other softwares that they were more flexible for using 2D and things like that. And at some point, Sony, I was just basically saying like, I want to do it like this. There is no other way. And we were doing a fucking cool animation test, and it was really, really cool. But it was like a completely different way how they would have done it, right, with their current pipeline at the time. So it was like basically a moment in which Sony was saying like, well, we want to do it like, we want to make it look like what you are doing, but we don't want to make it your way. And I was saying like, there's no way you're gonna make this film the way that I want to look if you don't do it my fucking way. Because I'm kind of like sort of like stubborn in a way. So we had this moment in which I wanted to go into some direction, and then I start getting like derailing. We were derailing each other, somehow. Like I wanted to have more realistic characters as well in terms of proportions and things like that. So for some reason we were not agree, mostly for like pipeline reasons and expenses and things like that. And it was at some point it was like, okay, either you do it like Sony wants to do it, or here is the door. And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna take the door. So but then they but then they have to make the film, right? And obviously all my team was behind. I was training like a bunch of painters, or I was even hiring painters that I love, that they managed to paint amazingly, whatever the style. So basically, like the 2 years or almost 2 years that I was there, it left like obviously a big signature. And then new people came in, and they have to hire people that they were basically able to keep the essence of what I was doing with the way that Sony wanted to make the film. And they were doing something that maybe was not exactly what I wanted to do. It had the flavor, obviously, and that's very much the story.
If we would have gone down your preferred pipeline look, would have you stayed with the project even though it's going a bit more of a kind of, I want to say like cartoonier sort of style of
what I really liked about Spider-Man and superheroes in general is the kind of like the pop culture, like the poses, like shit like that, that I was feeling that the movie was losing. The realistic proportions from, like from the Spider-Man from the 70s or whatever, like the pattern, the dots, all these things. I was just basically obsessed about it. And I'm like, how can I get this into animation, like the patterns and the graphics and the lines, and how can we do shaders that they actually emulate these kind of things. And I didn't like the idea of making a bath toy again, like a character with a big head and big eyes. Like I wanted to make something that is cool, nice, human, canon, cool proportions. Like why doing a Spider-Man that has skinny ass fucking legs? Yeah. So that was kind of like I wanted to stay away from cartoon. I love cartoon. Don't get me wrong. I might one day do something that is extremely cartoon, but at the moment there is something about human proportions in animation that I really like, and I want to keep exploring. Not hyper realism, but cool human proportions. I think that they are nice.
I think there's something about what you do. Again, we were talking about this before the call, like this, about what you do, which you're kind of one of the only people who is operating in that place that's so close to realism, but is still highly stylized, that works somehow. And there's just, I was trying to think of anybody else who's doing that well.
Yeah.
I just can't, I just can't really think of anybody.
I completely agree. And I think with that film, you brought an element of like, not cartoon, but like comic to it that felt very like, there was a sort of like unrealistic side of it as well, with the kind of flash frames and the kind of like, the big,
the stylized.
Like the stylized lighting, or the kind of like the graphic type and stuff like that. And it really balances itself super nicely with with this kind of realistic proportion. And it for me, it kind of satisfied because I like cartoony stuff as well, and it kind of satisfied the adult me and the kid me, you know, who wants to see this kind of animation that, you know, I obviously grew up, you know, everyone kind of grew up watching cartoons, but now you want to see more adult stuff. It was that perfect blend, and yeah, it's a shame that they didn't fully commit to that. But I wanted to ask actually, like, was you brought in? What was your role when you were brought in originally? Was you going to direct it?
No, I mean, when I got in, there was not even a director at the time. It was like the first draft of the script, and they were just basically, I mean, I was basically hired as the production designer, or in America, I say production designer, basically the art director. And I was just basically exploring the world, the art of the graphic, the bringing the comic book into motion. Exploring a Spider-Man world, characters, New York. So basically, that's what I was doing: character designs, etc., etc. So, you know, when I do art direction, I like to put my hand on everything. You know, I had experience before in which I was an art director, and some other was doing the characters, and some other person like. I don't like that scenario. I like to design absolutely everything is because otherwise you start kind of like trying to melt two styles together. And I prefer to just be like in control. I'm like in animation, I'm like a control freak. Like in my life, I'm pretty loose, but in animation, I'm fucking anal as fuck. Is weird. That word is funny, but yeah, I'm like extremely like precise, and I'm very, very, you know, like with the details and everything is very, very important for me.
Yeah, like because when I've seen all the pre-production stuff I've seen come out from that project that you did, like it felt like you were directing it, like even that animatic that you did for it, that I saw you posting with Vimeo. That just blew my mind, man. Like I just couldn't believe how like there's shots that didn't change one bit that is still in the film that were in that animatic, like all the way from that. I guess must have been some of the first stuff done on that project. And like
yeah, exactly.
The team or the directors, but like those are the best shots in the film, 100%. Like I love the bit where he's like falling off the building, and then it kind of, you know, inverts and he's falling up, and he shoots his webs just at the last minute before he like he enjoys that moment as he's falling, like all that stuff. It's like chilling to watch. Like
thank you so much.
You were directing it, like, so maybe that's where you're.
I mean, in a way, it was because I mean the deal originally, and this is like something that I actually never said, but the deal was like at the time I basically wanted to direct things. I was just kind of like represented by. Actually, I was represented by Framestore at the time as a director, but nobody fucking wanted to do anything that I wanted to do. I was pitching for a bunch of shit, and they didn't like the style or whatever. Clients, they were like, no. So I was just like struggling myself, and I'm like, I want to direct. So the Spider-Man thing, when they first called me, I was like, no way, I don't want to do art direction. I want to direct. So the deal was like, okay, I'm gonna do I wanna art direct this film, but you guys let me to direct the animation test, whatever is gonna be shown in Comic-Con. That was the idea, that we will do like a mini trailer to show in Comic-Con, and that's the animatic that you saw. So all that stuff I was directing it, and then I was on the animation test that we were doing basically as well. So it was like my first time kind of like doing sort of like proper direction in a big team and talking with big pipelines and things like that. So I guess that's why all these shots are still there, and even though it looks like a drama, it was not really such a drama. It was just like a misunderstanding at some point. But Sony obviously loved what happened there, and they kept the final image. I mean, the final the final look, it has obviously the essence. And there were some, as you say, many of the shots that I was doing in the early animatic, they are still there because they were fun. They were cool shots. Like, let's just turn the camera, of course, or let's just follow the character, like if we have like a rig in the character. So those kind of things, they're still there, which is cool.
I love the film. Like, I really enjoyed it, and
yeah,
we took the whole company. We watched it together. Actually,
it was like a day
well,
out.
Nice.
And but there was a part of me that when I started to see your like designs coming out, I almost wish I hadn't seen it, because it made me mourn the film that it could have been, like.
But then I guess, like, seeing The Witness come out.
Yeah, exactly.
You instantly kind of showed, I guess, like a more distilled version of your vision of what that could have been. Can you talk a little bit about like the process of making that, like
The Witness?
Yeah, I mean, you look at it and it just, I think, like, you look at it at first and it just feels like a bunch of, it's an Alberto Mielgo painting, and then it's moving and it's like, whoa, I didn't expect it to move in such a realistic way, or to like, I didn't expect it to be so three-dimensional or so human. And it kind of carries on like that throughout the whole piece. And I think that the thing that I've kind of realized watching it and rewatching it several times is that it's actually incredibly complex. I mean, it's either incredibly complex or incredibly simple, and you're doing something really clever, but I don't really know how you do it. And it's and there's something there that's very different than anything else that's being done visually.
Well, The Witness has a lot of the 2D thought and the 2D planning, because I come from 2D, and because obviously before I got into having like a bigger team, I was basically doing things by myself. So I need to figure how to make 3D, how to make shots that they look cool, but that it's just myself doing it, without having the knowledge of using every single software. So I still work like this, even though, now you start getting a little bit more wild because I have a little bit more support, but I still planning cheap and simple, the same way that you plan 2D. I mean, in fact, there is a lot of shots in 2D that if you move the camera slightly, breaks apart completely because it's just like a painting full of layers. So there are in The Witness, I think there are like four or five full 3D shots. The rest is just painting. It's basically the concept of Bambi. Really? It's a cool painting. Yeah, it's basically, they're like paintings and characters. Bambi, in this case, is this girl on top of the background. So it's basically 2D. The only thing is that the characters are well three-dimensional. But the thought is basically 2D. And in the things that you see that they are like super three-dimensional, there are like a lot of scenes that I did in After Effects, putting together some paintings in an angle with my cameras, and all sort of tricks that I was inventing during the years. And the full 3D shots, I did them with my friend Heavy Poly, which is like a super, super cool artist. Mm-hmm. And we were doing them in Blender, but it was very similar approach. Like we were not actually rendering buildings, we were painting the buildings and put them in a position, basically. But so it's a collage, like.
A part of me, like, when watching it, never watching something that in animation where I'm like, it looks so beautiful and so clever. There's the part of us that can't enjoy it because we're trying to work out how he did it. But there's stuff in it where I'm like, yeah, it does just look like a painting. But when you've got a character, obviously the painting is like is 2D, and you're designing it to look you're creating cheats to make stuff look as best as possible because it's 2D. But when you've got 3D characters moving in perspective in these paintings, are those the shots where you have to build 3D? Because if your perspective is stylized, but your character is scaling that in a realistic way, then it's going to break the illusion. Is that something you think about when you're composing shots? Or painting?
Well, when you do, but when you create a painting for Bambi, and then you have the deer kind of like running, you know, towards the inside of the painting, is a deer that is running on a flat surface, really, but because you have the sense of perspective, and then you add the shadows, and you know, you add the right colors, it works. So basically, what we had to do with the witness is, you know, in 3D, when you do lighting, you have a whole set, and then you put your lightings, and then all the bounce lights and everything works around the character, and everything is perfect. When you work with a 3D character in front of a painting, we were working the opposite, right? We were like analyzing the painting, where the light is coming from, how we can make this character to look as if he's there, you know, like how can, maybe this is just a painting that I have behind, you know, like how can you prove that it's not? Obviously, if you start doing this kind of thing, then it's 3D. But if it's not moving, you know, maybe I have basically like a painting here, and perhaps I have like a nice white glow in front of me, and you will think that I'm in an apartment, but maybe I am in the beach. So it's just a cheat. What I love about animation, and that's why I usually don't like to tell too much how I do things, is this is because it's a fucking cheat. It's just an illusion, right? It's like this book that Disney, the big book from Disney, is called The Illusion of Life.
Yeah.
And that's what animation is, right? It's like one drawing after the other that it gives you the illusion of movement. But in reality, it's not moving. It's just like one drawing after the other.
I've seen you online doing a bunch of videos about how things are not rotoscoped. And
yeah.
You seem to be pretty like adamant that things are not rotoscoped.
Yeah.
And I believe you, but like I'm also like, I guess that I'm interested in why is it important that things aren't rotoscoped to you? I guess that I would formulate the question in that way.
Yeah, that's a good question. Because it's not. I mean, rotoscoping is basically tracing, right, on top of a person moving, and that usually takes much. It's a tedious work, obviously, but it's not like, doesn't have the thought of animating. You know, when I animate a person walking or a person punching somebody, you have to have a lot of skills and a lot of knowledge of animation. You need to have your key poses, you have to have the breakdowns, and you need to study the movement. You can actually use real footage to study it, but that doesn't mean that you are going to trace it and rotoscope it. So it takes a while to do it. And I don't know, like, for example, in I guess that you're mentioning an animation that I was doing of a girl walking.
Yeah.
That was pretty, I mean, even impressive for myself, because I remember I was animating it based on my skills doing realistic animation, which is something that I actually was specializing myself and also learning a lot in Sinbad and over the years. Like I'm obsessed about movement, and animation is an art itself. And I remember kind of like figuring out a way of painting shadows on the characters. So I was basically doing all the in-betweens, painting all the shadows, painting the two values, and then I was painting frame by fucking frame, which is something that I don't want to do ever in my life. But I was painting frame by frame, that motherfucker character, you know, basically I was just taking the reference, and I was frame by frame seeing the reference, and I was painting same as you would paint a photograph. But because I have the perfect trace and the perfect shape of the animation that I was doing on cleanup, I was basically just painting loose, but keeping the shape of the character. And when I press play, it was like, what the fuck? This looks amazing. I was like not even expecting something like that. And then I started thinking, fuck, people is gonna think that I rotoscope this shit.
The thing is, at the point where you're like, how closely are you stylizing the? Because I guess you can reference something, you know, like even the Disney animators, they referenced a lot.
Yeah.
They pushed it and they tried to like stylize it, and I guess that is where like the kind of cartoon style of animation evolves from. But it feels like you're leaning more to like the realistic side. So I guess like, where is the balance between I might as well have rotoscoped it, or I'm stylizing it enough to satisfy me, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I like my favorite art is realistic, right? My favorite painters are sort of like realistic proportions. When you talk about animation, obviously, I love the Disney from, you know, like the time of the Dalmatians, which is highly stylized, you know, like Cruella de Vil, you know, and how it moves is true. Like it's extremely realistic, but then all of a sudden, it's a bear actually dancing with a little kid, and it's an actually big bear. So you see an incredible work there, right? Like you are like, wow, yeah, it feels like really real. You can see the reference, but this is actually a bear. It's not like they didn't rotoscope a bear, obviously. But in my case, because I kind of like realistic more than anything, you know, like nice proportions. I guess that, you know, there is like some stylization that I like to do, which is basically removing things that you don't need in order to understand the image. That's why I wouldn't do hyper realistic skins or hyper realistic pores. I will keep the eyes in the right position. I will keep the mouth in the right position, but that's my stylization. Like my work is mostly, I think, based in the definition of impressionism, which is basically what you can see with the hint of an eye. There is like some information that you don't need, you know, like right now we are talking, I recognize two humans, but I don't actually see all your skin detail. And I think that that's when in 3D we fail. Because in 3D many times they put so much detail and the skin is so fucking rich and everything is so busy that the eye gets overwhelmed and then you get directly into the uncanny valley. It's too much.
That's quite an interesting correlation, though, to think that you, as an animator, you liked the realism, but it was about removing stuff to satisfy like the style of movement that you liked. And then when you moved into the painting, you did exactly the same thing. It's exactly the same ethos in your paintings, because when you look at your paintings, like at first glance, you know, like if you look at it on a feed on your phone or on a website, at first glance, it almost looks photographic. And then when you study it, you're like, oh no, they're just squares and like lines, and it's like capturing this kind of like realism. But if you look at it closely, there is, I don't want to say lack of detail, because they are detailed, but like you said, it's not every perfect.
There's decisions being made.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like, in order to do a cool image, you need to be gentle with the eye. Like, you know, there is so much information, but the brain is pretty smart, and it only allow us to actually see what is important for us to understand the image. That's it. I mean, even the real world is full of texture, but your focal point is basically whatever you are looking at. Anything around is not, it doesn't have a final render, let's say. So, yeah.
I was like, I think the first time I was aware of you as a, like an art director or like an artist was, I think, when I saw the rock band, Beatles rock band.
Oh, yeah.
And like, I guess that was when you were like in your full swing of kind of being an art director. And but I wonder, like, what was you a jobbing kind of painter, background artist? Like, at what point did that style, like, to me, that feels like the first time where it all just blended, everything clicked. But is that true? Was you working in different styles before that? Like, when did this like Mielgo style? Because it is a kind of a, it's almost a style in itself, because loads of people are like kind of imitating the way you paint? Like, when did that start? You know, what was the project where you were like, oh, this
Yeah, that's a good question. You know, I don't know when it started. Like, the thing is that I am self taught. Like, I didn't go to school, or I don't have any technique on painting. Like, every time that I start a painting, for me, it's something completely new still nowadays. So when I approach a painting, I just do something that is basically improvising all the time. So I guess that I developed something very personal and a way of painting that it was basically struggling. How can I represent what I see? But shit, there is so much detail. Like, for example, every time that I see hyper realistic paintings, the ones that you get closer and you see like every single hair, and I get anxiety. I don't know how to do that. You know, like pores and things like that. I find it like it's overwhelming. It's so much patience. Like, for me, painting needs to be like loose, boom, 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 boom. I see it, boom, it's done, pan, let's go, next. Okay, nice. It looks nice. Like, I need to see the things happening in front of my eyes quickly. It gives me so much anxiety. I'm not criticizing it. Like, I find it fascinating. Like, when you go to National Portrait, the awards that they do every year, like, some of them, they are like, your mind explodes. Like, you don't understand how the fuck they can have so much information. You know, it's like looking at a fucking tree. I have always problems painting trees because they are, and I mean, now I'm forced because the project that I'm doing is basically fucking in nature. It's not like an architecture or anything like that. But when you see a tree, you know, you are painting the tree, and then you go back to the thing, and then you go to the tree again, and it's like, where the fuck my eyes they were? You know, it's like so many fucking details. So I guess that to answer your question, that I'm derailing myself a little bit. I developed my style out of having no fucking clue of what I was doing.
Oh, really? Okay. And so but if you were a job in like background painter in industry, like, you know, from working in commercials in London, you have to adopt styles under other art directors or adopt styles under other character designers. Was you working in different styles before, like as a commercial artist before that, or was you immediately getting picked up because of this kind of style that you were doing?
Well, let me analyze it. I don't really remember, but historically it was DreamWorks, restaurants, pizza places, McLaren. I was working in McLaren cleaning dishes in Surrey, because I was living in Woking, by the way. I don't know if you guys know that place, but my girlfriend was working in a hospital there, St. Peter Hospital. And I remember I started working in commercials in some small studios, and I was basically animator, right? And then I started working in passion pictures in this. You guys remember the Felix cat commercials?
Yeah.
So yes, I was doing some of those as an animator, and I started actually doing background paintings for one of the commercial, which was very simple. It was just lines. And then I think that the next job, I think that I started kind of like creating a portfolio by myself with my drawings and paintings digitally colored, that they were not very complex. It was way more graphic, more 2D. And I was doing nice presentations, and then I was showing it there. And then I remember I was basically doing some paintings for Pete Gandelan in a commercial for Motorola. That was actually the thing. And then they start kind of like seeing me a little bit more like into the color thing, right? I still love doing animation, but somehow I start kind of like going into art direction and painting in Photoshop every time, like as well as I could. Like, I was basically just learning, doing cool jobs, but sort of like, okay, I'm gonna try this, I'm gonna try that, you know, like learning Photoshop, and that, you know, lead into I think it was Cartoon Network, and I was doing a lot of developing in Cartoon Network in London. It was like a small studio that open that we were basically developing projects, and I was basically doing background paintings and things like that. Also with Pete Candelander. Like I have to say that Pete was for me like a guy that, he brought me into super cool jobs, and he kind of delegate on me on art a lot. And I'm super grateful. And I don't know if you guys know him, but he's amazing guy. He's an amazing guy and super talented. I mean, of course, you guys were doing also some gorillas lately. But I mean, the first gorilla fucking commercial that Pete did with the monkeys dancing, and it's like beyond hell. That was like, that's a 2D. That was so fresh. It was like the freshest fucking 2D I ever saw at the time. I was like, and I remember I was in Spain. I was not even working in animation at the time. I was I don't know, probably 16 or 17, the first time that I saw that music video with, the music was super cool. The characters were like, what the fuck, these punks, like zombies, 2D. I was over, it was a hell of an experience. I remember it was amazing to watch.
Yeah, there was a period from like 2000 to like 2015 or something where like there was some crazy talent in that Passion building. Like like Pete Canlan, obviously, like Hewlett was making stuff there.
Yeah.
You like the partnership of you and Robert Valley.
And Robert Valley was there as well. Oh my God, that was so cool. Robert is fucking amazing as well. Like that guy is amazing. Yeah. Both talent and his personality is like beyond cool. Yeah. Like it's probably one of the coolest guys that I met. Like his tempo, his way of talking, his postures, he's like a super, super cool guy.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, because I guess like that, like it's funny that like Beatles rock band advert, like it's almost like the template for like Tron, right? That partnership, like the background song.
Yeah, correct. Exactly, that's how it happened. I mean, we first did the Beatles rock band. The first, we first did that in Passion, and then how it happened. And then I went to Cartoon Network, and then I met my friend Charlie Bean, who was the executive producer and director of Tron, and also Charlie knew Rob at the time in London, so we were together again. Like it's like, okay, let's do the same mix, Alberto and Rob.
Out of curiosity, did Sony invite Rob to do any design on the Spider-Man?
I actually did. I actually did myself in the beginning, right in the beginning. Right in the beginning. Yeah, we were exploring a lot in terms of characters. We were really, really exploring a lot. We were bringing a lot of people, and
I would have loved to see his take on Spider-Man.
Yeah, but Rob was actually working on the ciders, in the Pierce ciders, and he was like, basically that was his mainly thing to do, and I think he was not as impressed in doing things for Spider-Man. I think that he was in the same situation as myself, like he didn't want to do more character designs for anybody else. Like he wanted to direct, and he deserved it. He has such a strong voice, and basically what he wants is just give me money to fucking do my film, and that's what people is doing now. Okay, I give you money, and then you just go wild and you just do pure Robert Valley, which is like you are very much the best and the only one that actually can do it.
Which surely is where you're at now as well, a little bit, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's a good place. It's a good place to start. To be definitely in animation is rare.
How long have you been in the industry for now?
I started when I was 19, No, actually, I started even earlier. I started when I was 17, working in a studio, kind of like at the same time that I was studying. So 17, and I am 42. Fuck, I'm so bad. 45, 25 years, right?
Yeah.
It's crazy, isn't it? Like, I think so many people who get into animation think, you know, they've got a talent, few years they'll be in there, but like even somebody like yourself and Robert Valley, you know, it's taken you guys quite a while actually to get to the kind of established place that you are, you know,
Yeah.
despite the fact that you guys are, in my estimation, some of the biggest talents in the world over the last couple of decades.
Wow.
You're primarily focused on directing right now, right? The Witness was, I guess, your first big directorial thing.
Yeah.
You've done the Watch Dogs thing since then, and there's the Windshield Wiper, which we watched today.
Yeah,
just
cool.
And
beautiful.
In my opinion, the most beautiful thing you've ever done.
Really? Holy shit!
It feels like a new. It feels like something else. It feels like a new Alberto Mielgo. It's like a softer, sweeter version of you, and I really liked it.
Yeah, same.
Thank you.
Just, every new segment of it was just such a visual treat, you know, and like I could stare at your paintings forever, and I have on occasion. But it's kind of, it's weird to be given a time limit to look at one of your paintings, because when it starts, you just want to soak it all in and look at everything, and then the next scene cuts, and like it was kind of, it was like I found it kind of like a weird thing to watch, because I just wanted to like pause it on everything, but it was just so beautiful, man.
But
thank you so much.
I guess the question I'd sort of throw in there is like, what? I'm
gonna put some light here. Just one second.
Sorry, we've probably been going a little bit longer than you anticipated.
No, it's fine. It's fine. Let's continue. I mean, you guys are talking amazing things about me, so why?
I thought that was a good time to extend it. So I was just wondering, like, I guess you are now focused on proceeding as a director, I guess now primarily, rather than art director.
Yeah, writer, director. What I basically want to make is feature films in the same direction. And when I do art, directing for me includes a lot of things, like includes designing the world, which in a way is art directing as well. I don't think I will direct anything that I don't art direct. And then, you know, doing storyboards, doing the sound design, doing fucking tons of things is like every time that I get into a project, I basically don't have time off. Like the project that I'm doing now, I started March 2020, and except for what's the name? Christmas Eve, which that I went to the desert. That was my only day off.
Wow.
Till now.
And what sort of hours are you doing in a day?
Insane, retarded, like 6 a.m., 7 a.m. to 11 p.m.
Okay. And so how are you in such good shape? That's one question I have.
Because at 11 p.m. I go for a run or I go for a ride.
Yeah.
You nutcase.
Wow.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, I mean, or maybe in the middle of the day, like depends. Now it's hot. I prefer in the evenings, but in the winter it's nice. Like before lunch, I go for a 30 minutes run or something like that.
But you don't have friends. You don't like socialize.
No, I don't know anybody. No, I mean my friends are fucking amazing. I know a lot of people, but they know that when I'm working, I disappear for months. Like with the whole COVID thing, people has been facing kind of like being alone for a long time. Like my record is I've been like for like 5 months without actually seeing anybody, for example, because I'm working or developing or whatever. Or if I'm in my studio, I only see people in the studio. But
sorry, to ask you like a personal question, like,
yeah, of course.
Does that make you happy?
Yeah, I mean, it's what I like to do. I mean, I'm a person that I am very used to be by myself, and I really appreciate that. Like I'm a person that I like to look at the world and enjoying it. Like I don't need to, like, oh my God, I'm in a sunset watching something amazing. I wish that I'm with somebody. Like, I don't need that. Like, I'm just like in awe with the world. I love to be alive. I love the world. So, working in something that I love is basically the biggest the biggest pleasure that I can have. Like, wake up in the morning. Imagine when I was doing The Witness, I have my studio here in Madrid with my team, and I had money to make the fucking film that I always wanted to do. I was waking up every morning with 5 hours, 6 hours of sleep, extremely energetic and happy, and it's like, boom, I'm gonna have my breakfast and I'm gonna fucking go and work with this project, which is amazing. It's my favorite thing to do. But of course, between projects, as you know, you have to pitch, or you have to write, or you have to do things. I might spend 6, 7 months without any income or any job. And that's the time where, I might have a blast, or I might go with my friends almost every day, or I have way more social life. But when I'm working, it just takes this time. And I cannot even imagine what it's going to be to do a feature film, that's going to be like,
I was going to ask, like, from our experiences, like directing bigger and bigger projects in our studio, I find that I guess this is the difference between you and I, like why you're where you are and where I am. But I do zero on the box stuff now. I just can't do it. I'm doing feedback to people or client calls, and it seems like the more success you get in your career, the more on the box you do. And I wonder if that's like, how are you able to, I guess that what you just said explains that, but how viable do you think that is going into a feature film where you'll have like 1,000 cuts or something?
Yeah.
Learn to delegate at all?
Yeah, for example, any kind of like short film, The Witness or The Windshield Wiper, storyboarding a short film, something that obviously I can totally do by myself. Doing the animatics, it's something that I love. It's basically like, okay, let's just play with film. But if you are gonna do like an 80 minutes film, I wish, I know that I'm gonna do a big majority of the storyboards still, but I need to delegate on people, and I need to find a way of doing that. There is a lot of delegation that I'm having already, but even, I don't know, for example, painting the textures of the characters is something that I do myself, or we project it and then I have to retouch it, so I get like the OBJs, and then I paint manually in Photoshop. So there is a lot of things that I keep doing in order to keep the essence of the film. But if the project is bigger, I definitely need to find art visionaries that I can delegate as well, and that also they basically bring things that perhaps I was not even thinking, right? I guess that delegation is going to be a moment in which I am like, okay, well, I cannot absolutely control absolutely everything. Let's just bring the right people, I suppose.
Do you feel prepared for that moment? The short films would be a good, I guess you already are working with a wider team, but I saw on the Windshield Wiper that you did every background in that whole film.
And yeah.
Was that a budgetary thing, or was that
No, I have to be honest, the Windshield Wiper is a project that I've been doing for like fucking 6 years, and it was basically just I started doing it before Spider-Man. I started doing it before The Witness. I started doing it probably right after Tron or something like that. So I started doing paintings, character designs, and obviously it's a very small film that has been kind of like traveling with me until now. It was not a big deal to do all the paintings. I mean, at the end of the day, I don't know if there are like 40, 50, I don't even know how many paintings the short have, and is more simple technically than The Witness, but kind of like similar vibe. But it's way more simple than what I'm doing, for example, now, which I am getting way more into sophisticated full 3D. So, you know, there is now, for example, I do paintings in my film, but I have people that they follow my work for amount of years, that they are fucking incredible young people that I don't even know how they fucking paint like that. It took me 40 motherfucking 2 years to paint the way that I do. And then these motherfuckers that they are working in my team, they are like on their 20s, and you don't even know how the fuck these people paint. It's insane.
I was going to say, it's probably an easy time to crew for your projects because everyone's doing your style now anyway. So
Yeah.
It is.
Yes.
Well, funny enough, there is so much fucking animation projects now and so much jobs that it's fucking difficult to hire. I guess that you guys are in the same thing.
Yeah, we have exactly the same issue. I mean, we're lucky, like we are probably one of those companies sucking up the talent as well. But yeah, like it's becoming more and more difficult to crew up for jobs, for sure.
Yeah, but I mean, of course, like, but you guys, it's true. You guys have a name, you have a status, and there is a lot of people that they are probably like, fuck, I want to be part of the line. Because like, let's talk about you now. It's true. No, but it's true. You guys are like so fresh and so cool, and the things that you guys do, they are just, you know, like exploring the 2D, how you guys are exploring it, and bringing this kind of like, you know, like anime mixed with, you know, like European, or, you know, it's like a super fresh mix, and it makes sense that a lot of people wants to work in your company, because you started like being different artists, like all of a sudden they start getting together because you guys are a number of directors with very significant and very cool different styles. I remember knowing some of you, and I remember knowing some others of you just because of the line. But I remember when the line was kind of starting, I was like, oh wow, these guys are fucking cool. I think that I started knowing your work because of Christian Antonelli, that he was actually animating in the windshield wiper.
Yeah, I remember when I think Christian. I think I met
animation's best kept secret. Right?
Yeah,
Christian
he
Antonelli
is someone who frustrates the hell out of me, man. Like, because he is so.
He's going to listen to this.
Yeah, let him listen to it. He's so fucking good, but he doesn't accept it that he is, and
one of the most talented men.
He should be. I think he should be alongside a name in the industry like you and Robert and. But.
He has he has something that is very cool. It is like he has very good taste.
Yeah.
You know, his drawings are elegant. The things that he posts are, you know, elegant and well curated. He doesn't fucking throw things. Like, he all of a sudden do something that has like few lines, and he's like, wow, that's a fucking cool drawing. You know,
because there's nothing that guy doesn't know about. Like, sometimes I'm talking to him about like a bit of music that I've just found, or some fashion jacket thing from the 1940s that I'm like, oh, these are cool, or like a trainer or a shoe, and he just knows everything about it already. like everything about it already. And
cool.
That taste always injected into his work, like But yeah, I think he introduced us like back in the day, I think, a passion party, and I remember him telling me that he was working on a short film of yours, which I guess was the windshield wiper. But thinking like, oh, what happened to that film? That's the
one.
Yeah, that's the one.
When is it going to get a sort of general release? Because obviously you've just shown it at Cannes recently.
Yeah, we shot Cannes, and I'm not.
Congratulations, man.
Yeah.
That was. I mean, a total dream. Like, I always wanted to be in that festival, and also cool for Cannes as well, right? It's just like recognizing another type of animation. You know, it's not like an animation festival, and they actually got it. That's something that I really liked. I'm not sure. I mean, at the moment, where I would like the film is to have like a nice live into festivals, like showing it into films and theaters, and see where it goes. And probably at some point it's gonna be in some sort of like streaming or whatever. You know, I'm not too sure what's the life of a short film nowadays.
I think that's gonna be Oscar nominated for sure. Like
that would be amazing. Hello, I mean, it would be like
no way. Like I'd be so surprised.
That would be cool. You know, but to do that, it takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of you know. It's just like, you know, you need to do a good PR. You need to promote the film. You know, it's like sometimes you are competing against the Pixar short film, you know, that they are gonna promote the shit out of it, and they're gonna send it to the right people. You know, this is, at the end of the day, this is just a very independent film, and you're competing with the big giants in those such a big categories. You know, you are not talking into to small festivals. You are talking about, you know, something that is that big. That's a hell of a competition. I mean, if we even get in the short list, that will be already like being an independent, super independent film that has no support behind. That will be fucking huge.
You have someone doing the kind of PR and making sure it gets into Oscar qualifying festivals and things like that.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like we need to basically do what the people do, right? It's like getting into agencies, but nowadays you can even do that yourself. You know, you can actually get into this film freeways call, and you can see all the cool festivals and submit it. It's not even difficult. You just need to select the festivals that you like, and just because of Cannes, which was super cool. We got invited at least to, you know, like send us the link, and we got invited to several festivals already, just because, you know, the status is already very cool.
Do you want to talk about what you're doing now? Because you're obviously like deep into something new.
I can't. It's like the fucking typical thing that you need to sign and then you cannot talk. I mean, I wouldn't mind to talk about it in a bar, but if we're gonna put this in YouTube or something, it's like I get my everything chopped off.
We can get everybody who watched this podcast to sign the NDA if you want. We can
sign an NDA before the link gets.
That would be rather laborious. I will just keep it silent. It's fucking annoying, to be honest. In animation, you cannot. I mean, anywhere, like, you have all these obviously super confidential jobs. For the good, I suppose, but, you know, animation takes, you know, to do, you know, a short film, it takes a year. Like a feature film, it takes 2-3 years. Like, you just disappear from the world. You cannot do anything else apart from showing here and there a few drawings, few somethings. But yeah, it's like that, right? Like, there is like a lot of things that you cannot talk until you show it, and then you're like, finally, fuck, I can show it. You are super proud, but you're in this.
Sorry, can you say, is it like a feature film, or is it a series, or a short film?
No. I mean, right now is another little film that is fucking insane. Right. Best fucking thing I ever did, and the most sophisticated fucking shit. Like, visual everything, like, it's retarded. Sorry, I used that word. But yeah, and more things that are coming up that right after this, that same thing. Unfortunately, I cannot talk, but I would love to. If it's on me, I would love to share a little trailer
work in progress.
2 years before the fucking release of anything, you know, and kind of like feed a little bit the audience, like, okay, here are some designs. Like, I don't know why we are not doing that.
Yeah.
I guess it's because you are scared that somebody else, you know, is gonna release something similar before you. Like, for example, with Spider-Man, I remember that I finished The Witness way before fucking Spider-Man came out, and I was like, please, I want to show fucking The Witness before Spider-Man comes out, right? And I finished it months before, you know. And we released 5 months later. Like, it was just waiting there, and I was like, no, fuck.
You know what? Maybe from your perspective, that's disappointing. But to me, it was the right time, because I'd seen all these designs that you'd done from Spider-Verse. And then it was like, this was the film that it could have looked like. And it sort of like quenched that thirst a little bit to see, because I was, you know, it was the what if, like what it could have been kind of thing.
What if?
Yeah. And that kind of satisfied. So for me, that was, I'm glad it came after, you know.
It's true. I mean, it was cool.
So you're directing the thing that you're currently doing?
Yes.
Right.
Yes, I don't do anything else that is not directing anymore. Like when people write to me, like if I want to do concept art or art direction for something, or like I'm not interested in that. Look, I'm 42. I don't know how many films I can do in my lifetime. You know, it's just like if you look at, you know, Woody Allen or Sidney Lumet, that they have like over 70 fucking titles in their career, including TV, including whatever. Like I cannot waste any time. Maybe I can do 4 films. I don't know, you know, like if you think about it, it's like 4 films multiplied by 3-4 years.
Yeah.
You know, that's what it takes to fucking do animation. Like I was in the Annie Awards last year, and Henry Selick was saying something super amazing, and he says, like, in animation, sometimes it's lucky enough to do minutes of animation, and some of us, we are lucky enough to do few hours the most, and that's it. Like, I mean, if you just fucking put all the things that you did in life in animation, it might be 2 hours or 1 hour and a half, you know. It's like and it took you fucking 20 years.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so true. It's depressing to think of it like that.
I know, it's depressing. Sorry, we cannot finish.
No, it's true. And you got the lucky one if you've got to do that much. Yeah, because even Henry Selick, I mean, how many feats he's done? Like 4 or 5?
I don't know how many films he did, but I mean, that quote there, it kind of like got me, and I was like, holy shit, I need to rush the shit, because this is, you know, like time is like clicking, click.
So how certain are you that you're going to get a feature off the ground? Is it like a signed done deal, or is it?
No, I mean, right now what I have is like, I've been basically, everything takes forever, you know, but that's what I'm doing now. I have like several projects, and I have several investors, and I mean, with my agency, that is super, super cool. That has to be the next thing. Like, I don't want to do more shorts. I don't want to do more commercials. Like, I have sometimes, I mean, you get this agency telling you like, we want you to do this commercial, high budget, whatever. It's like, it's gonna be 7 months again of my life to do a fucking 1 minute or 2 minutes. Like, obviously, if I do not do what I want to do, I need to get and do anything, you know, like to do the Ubisoft thing, the Watch Dogs. It was like a super cool experience. I loved it, but it took a long time and it's just like it's like a quick experience in your eyes, right? Like boom, just passed.
That was amazing.
Thank you very much. It was a homage to London, by the way.
Yeah, man, I felt it as well. Like I knew every location in that. I was like, that's Shoreditch High Street. That's that corner shop is like I know that pub. Like it was beautiful, man, and I appreciated every moment of it like so much. It was.
Thank you so much.
It was definitely like one of those moments where like you sort of watch it and then you put it on Slack and you look up and everyone in the studio's got it on their screen and just like what we spoke about at lunch that day and like
for a while afterwards.
Yeah, it's
nice.
It definitely cut through all the stuff that was like coming out at the time, man.
I think that like watching the making of is that of that as well was the first time I really sort of understood how you put stuff together, I think, properly. So yeah, it's really interesting.
I know we're hogging you a little bit, but just before we go, like, I'd like to ask you about you sort of like got into the NFT space, and it's something that like I'm definitely like interested in, and like it's something when it was all happening, I was sort of like, oh, maybe the Line should do an NFT, and then I started seeing all this stuff of like huge backlash about like it's like particularly from the art community about like how environmentally friendly it is, or how it is about, you know, or how capitalist it is and all this kind of stuff. And I wondered, like, what was your experience having experimented with it? Is it something that you do again?
I'm definitely, I mean, I'm preparing another one. Definitely, I'm gonna do another drop, and I love it. I think is, for fuck's sake, come on. When I was seeing all the digital artists or people protesting about it and criticizing things, I was just like, you know, like you work for these motherfucking companies that they get the soul out of you. Like you design characters and you cannot even have like a 0.2% of anything that you do, you know? Like you just sign everything. Like there is companies that they've been telling me before, any scribble that you do when you are talking in the phone, if you are working in my project, it's mine. You know, like they are just fucking assholes. And for the first time, we can actually owe royalties, and we can have owning our piece. And if somebody sells it, we can have a percentage. You know, that doesn't even happen in the art world. And it's also the first time that digital art is being nicely considered. Not among the art world, like among the people that they like art, basically, because the art world is like a minority still. You go to galleries, and most of the times you don't understand what you are seeing. Like like people that were protesting about NFT being abstract because it's like a digital piece, and you know, like the art world has been selling abstract work. So abstract that you can put it upside down and you don't even fucking know the difference, you know? So that's abstract. And in terms of the environment, well, it's a very new industry. And the good news is that everybody is very aware of it. And I'm very keen of new rich thinkers. New rich people, you know, like I am aware of new Elon Musks, you know, like there's like these kids that they're like the collectors that they've been working on NFTs and they were developing all the Ethereum or the crypto. They're very young people that they've been spending a lot of time in computers, and they are the new thinking people. And I want these people to be billionaires, you know, like fucking General Motors and all this industry, they were ignoring the environment for a whole century. And now this new industry is very aware of what is happening. Like everything is getting much lighter. There is like a renewal energies, and everybody's putting an effort into change it. So, you know, I think that already is changing, and I definitely want these people. I don't want to be a billionaire. Like, I wouldn't know what to do with that fucking money, but I want people that they are like thinking, people that they are into crypto, you know, people that they understand things like that. Like, I don't even understand crypto myself properly, you know. Like, I want the people that create that, the ones that they are actually ruling the world, and the ones that they have the money to actually make the right decisions.
Yeah, I think there's some good points there for sure. Like I've seen arguments from both sides about the how actually environmentally friendly or damaging it is, and there seems to be a bit of debate there. Certainly, there's a lot of like efforts and energies being put into making it more environmentally friendly, which is not true of, like you said, a lot of like the motor industry and the oil industry.
Yeah.
It's been absolutely destroying the planet for many years. So it definitely is a good point. But even if, like, I feel like NFTs has got they're so tarnished and there is so much debate about it that even if it was completely environmentally friendly, I still feel like there's a stigma against it. And like, I think even us as a company, like we'd be worried about like what kind of heat it would bring on us. So I just wondered if you care at all about that. I mean, obviously it seems like you don't, you know, like, but because it could potentially damage your career in some way, you know, like.
Well, you know, there is a lot of things that can damage your career. You know, unfortunately, nowadays everything looks a little bit like the fucking Inquisition. Like, you just open your mouth, you say the wrong thing, and then everything goes to hell. Like, it's almost like the medieval times when they were burning people, and people, they were watching it and they were enjoying it. And there is people that they're very active on ruining whatever person just because they say something wrong. And nowadays it happened that any sort of like social issue, companies, first thing that they do is they announce like, we are against it. You know, it's like, I personally prefer to keep myself in silent in these sort of opinions, and I just, you know, I can give my opinion about NFT, and I can be like a fighter against people that is against NFT. I can tell you, right? I mean, I told you already what I think, and I think that the old system is the one that is not working, and the new energies and the new technologies, like, I believe in technology more than the old fucking system. I think that that's going to be a much nicer solution for everybody, and I can be active on that. But I just prefer to do art. Like, I'm just an artist. I see a beautiful new platform. I see a new audience. I've been always fucking, you know, like a digital artist is like in animation, dude. Like, I remember when I wanted to sell paintings in a gallery, that I had my resume that I was working in this, I was working in Disney, I was working whatever, and I was just showing my resume, and these people, they were advising me, you know what, you shouldn't say that you've been working in Disney, you shouldn't say that you've been doing this, you shouldn't fucking say that you're an artist, you know. And that's lame, right? So now, for the first time, all this amount of nerds that we are doing robots and cool fucking things, and it's being considered art. I need to jump into that. Period.
Yeah, that's good. Definitely a good point. I feel, I had a similar feeling when there was I mean, for a long time, I guess digital artists, about their work being stolen and repurposed and reused, and here was something that offering a solution, and there was such a renouncement of it. Not only just from, I mean, I can understand if you're like, you know, concerned about the environmental impacts of it. I think that's one thing. But I saw people arguing it from a kind of like the capitalist side of the art industry, and I was like, you know, if you're going to make money from your art in any form, even if it's from Patreon or whatever, you're in some form playing into the capitalist society, because you want to make money in order to just operate as an artist. And here, this way, you're just getting it in one sort of chunk. But was it worth it? Was it profitable for you? Like, I mean, you don't have to get into the numbers for me, but like,
yeah. I mean, it was amazing. I mean, it was
pulling us from
pretty successful. It is. I have to say, it's weird. When the whole auction things, you know, like I never experienced that. I never experienced that putting your art for 10 minutes, and then all of a sudden people is buying, and then you start seeing numbers, and then you get anxious, you know. It's like, oh my god, it almost feels like the raffle kind of vibe, or when you go and see horses, it's almost like mixing anxiety with art. So it felt a little bit strange, but it was, I mean, for the first drop that I ever did, people liked it. They thought that I put some thought behind. That's what I wanted to do. Basically, I just wanted to give my opinion about what I was doing and why I thought that archiving digital art in a way is cool. I mean, regardless if it's profitable or not, I think that archiving digital art officially is pretty amazing, because you know, it lives there. I don't know if it's gonna live forever, but you know, it has like an space, while, you know, our paintings, you know, our drawings, they, you know, they with the passage of time, same as us, they basically die, you know.
Yeah,
sure. While digital doesn't. So I thought it was very, very, very cool. So I want to keep exploring it. I really like it. I want to keep doing it. I actually wanted to explore long format, but it's not ready yet to do anything like that. Like I wanted to do like long format, NFT long format. Like at first when I started doing it, it's like, okay, I didn't knew the limitations. I didn't knew too much about it. So I'm like, okay, let's do a whole cool film, short film or whatever that is NFT. But it's apparently it's not that interesting. I'm new about it. I'm full of ideas, and I think that the whole community also per se is super interesting, and it's new as well. It's a new audience somehow.
Yeah, it's interesting, like you wanting to do like a long form on it, because I guess that is a way of funding it, you know.
Yeah,
kind of the eternal problem of making films and short films is like, you know, that I guess that's one thing I wanted to maybe like my last question to you is like, how important do you feel like making short films is, you know, to animators or to an artist? Because we were sort of asked to do this series of podcasts by the BFI and talk about like the film funding and their film funding, but you know, like how have you found getting your film funded, or how important do you think it is to get film funding to make your films? Because I think a lot of people, you know, tend to do it without funding as well.
Yeah, I mean, your question is how important it is to make a short film in order to show your work, or what are you trying to?
Oh, sorry.
What do you want me to say?
It's a bit of a rambling question. I guess it's like, how important do you think it is to make short films as a kind of an animator or a director, you know, as opposed to just trying to get commercial work? And then how important do you think?
Oh, I understand. Well, it's very different. I mean, unless you have a commercial, I mean, it's basically narrative. A short film, you tell a story, you are not selling a product. Even if you do a cool commercial for Stellar Toys, which usually they have like nice narrative, the narrative is not like a character evolution, or it's not like a character deconstruction. It's basically an evolution to Stellar Toys is fucking cool. By the way, we are not sponsored by Stellar Toys. Everybody should know. But it's like they usually do this kind of narrative commercials. But I think that is very, if you want to make film, you should do short films, because or film or writing or comic books, because it's narrative. But if what you want to do is commercials, which I think is amazing, like commercials is a world that is on its own incredible. what was the name? Fuck. You guys remember the PlayStation commercial with the weird alien girl?
Chris Cunningham, yeah.
Oh my God! That's it. Like there's some commercials out there that they are like, what the fuck, and it's so good that is they're not selling the thing, but all of a sudden you're so curious about the product because the commercial is so good. So it's a completely different discipline. I think that narrative and commercial, sometimes commercial is so good that it's basically art itself, which is the case of what Chris Cunningham was doing with those. They were like, wow. Or video clips, right? Like, because he was doing Apex Twin as well. So maybe what you want to do is video clips, and it's also like super cool to do video clips, I suppose, either in animation or in whatever. There are like amazing masterpieces, sometimes narrative and sometimes just visuals that they are like, wow, I want more of this. So any project.
Do you think if you did features, you would continue to do shorts?
I like shorts. I cannot say if I like shorts more than features because I never did a feature. But I like shorts because you see them the next year. It's like a short turnaround, and it's like a curated small kind of piece. Like if I never actually do a feature film and I keep doing shorts, why not? It's cool. I mean, I love the characters. I love the universe. I got fully involved into this thing. Like I don't see. I mean, the format, the length is not an issue, I suppose. But you obviously want to do something longer just because you want the thing to stay into people's lives, I suppose. But shorts can be as well. I mean, I don't know. I guess that I'm starting to. My answers are not as bright as before. I feel it. I'm starting to get tired.
You've been so generous with your time.
Yeah, we really appreciate it.
Of course.
It's such a pleasure to talk with you. I've been such a fan of your work from the Blogspot days.
Oh my God, that was cool. Blogspot was nice. Blogspot was
nice. I'm so glad to see you achieving what you want to be achieving, and your work is just getting better and better. And I really just hope the best for you, man, like with your career, because I just want to see that kind of work out there, man.
Thank you. Super appreciate it. Thank you very much for inviting me. And I have to say that I usually don't like too much to do appearances or talking, but I guess that we were having like kind of like almost meetings sometimes. Like I was here, you were missing, you were in LA or things like that, and you have like a very cool vibe. And I was like, okay, well, talking with the line guys definitely can be like a cool thing. Let's just do it. But we need to fucking meet and drink something. Yeah. Definitely, either in a pub or in a taberna in Madrid, whatever. That's something that we have to do.
Yeah, we were talking about
those vaccines.
We were talking about doing a trip to Madrid, like to go and to meet some of the Klaus crew. They were in Madrid.
Oh, really?
Well, just because we wanted, thinking like when that film was finishing, that's probably a good time to start trying to poach talent.
Nice.
But it obviously never happened with COVID and stuff like that. But
oh fuck, of course.
Yeah, Spain's where it's at right now. Madrid
really?
Seems to be. I mean,
what you're allowed to go is
in terms of talent.
Oh yeah.
Seems to be a lot of talent over there right now. So.
It is. Yeah, it's packed. There is like a lot of people in the industry. It's pretty amazing. I'm pretty happy with that, and also the government is also helping a lot with tax breaks and things like that, which is always obviously a cool thing.
Well, yeah, when it opens up, man, we'll come out there and get a bit of sun, get some beers, hang out.
Yeah, let's do it. Sounds cool.
Good stuff.
All right, brother. Have a nice evening. Don't go
back, guys.
Have a beer and chill out.
I'm gonna go for a run right now.
Good stuff.
Thanks, mate.
Thank you, fella. Take it easy.
Bye.
Just want to say a massive thanks to Alberto for his generosity with the amount of time he gave us. We definitely took advantage of having him with us, and it was amazing talking to him, and I really hope you enjoyed it as much as we enjoyed talking to him. I also want to thank Jordan McGarry from the BFI Network for inviting us to kind of like start the podcast up again and by funding it. I just want to shout out the BFI Network again for its continued support of filmmakers and film funding. And they actually got, as I mentioned in the beginning of the podcast, they have a film fund that's open twice a year. You can find more information via network.bfi.org.uk. And we'll put this link below, as well as all their kind of social media accounts where you can find out more info about them.
And if you want to find out any more about us, you can always go to thelineanimation.com, where all of our work lives. We're a London-based animation studio, and on our website you'll find links to all of our socials and our portfolio of work. Thanks very much, and hopefully catch you on the next one.
Thanks very much. Like and subscribe.